You are listening to the Ivy Podcast. Learn from the thought leaders in areas of strategy, innovation, negotiation, and all things leadership. We interview the Ivy League, Fortune 100, and top startups. Now, here's your host, John Karsibayev.
All right. My guest for this episode is Nargiza Mashuri. Nargiza has extensive background working with global companies in the area of business development, new market acquisition, as well as due diligence and economic barriers assessments. From industrial engineering to investment banking and product development, siblings Nazym and Nargiza were no strangers to the corporate culture and the heavy travel schedules that come with it. Then they recognized one real problem from fellow executives and entrepreneurs who always have to be in different parts of the world. We noticed the lack of fashion apparels that those individuals can rely on during the long-hour flights, since they need to dress to impress, be comfortable, and reflect their inner self at the same time. Nazym then, in partnership with his sister Nargiza, assembled the mission to create first design house of Silicon Valley, soul of Nomad, that would stay relevant and meet the demands of modern men and women. Nargiza has a bachelor degree in industrial technology management and master of science in global technology development from Arizona State University. Welcome, Nargiza. It's been a minute, but I've been following your great progress all along, and so happy to finally have you on the Ivy podcast.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Great, excellent. So a little background for the listeners. Nargiza and I have met in Kazakhstan many years ago. I'd say somewhere around 2013, 2012, around there, I guess.
Yeah.
Where you were the organizer of a really cool art event where you were curating some of the local, top talent in art, which was really cool, by the way. And now we fast forward several years. You're now the co-founder of the very fast-rising clothing brand, Soul of Nomad. I'd love for you to tell us a story of how did you arrive at starting this company, and more specifically, if you can mention something within the lines of that transition from the corporate world into your own startup. Would love to hear some background on that.
Absolutely, with great pleasure. Me and my brother about 3 years ago decided to establish a luxury company called Soul of Nomad. But the need behind this was both me and him come from executive background, and my brother also comes from the investment banking field as well. And both of us, we were traveling extensively across CIS, Europe, and Southeast Asia. And while traveling, we'd meet high-level clients and executives. And even after long and short flights, we had to look sharp and remain focused, which is not easy task after a red flight on its own. In the demanding world of business, you always required to look sharp as you walk into the boardroom. And this fact is simply non-negotiable. And the idea of Soul of Nomad was born 3,000 feet above the ground on the plane. That's when we decided to establish a luxury fashion brand that would accommodate the needs of discerning men and women, let's say, with the global nomadic lifestyle. Because with the globalization, today you're in LA, tomorrow you're in London, and then next thing you know, you're in Zurich, and you have to look sharp all the time. So basically, we wanted to create a brand that would cultivate the daring nature of modern day men and women who travel frequently, whose journey is defined by the bold life experiences and the journey within themselves. What I mean by the journey within yourselves, it's basically the philosophy of the brand that transcends beyond actual tangible fashion items. The philosophy is much deeper. It's about the journey of self-made men and women who overcome all the hurdles of becoming successful, or all the challenges to achieve their desired horizons. So we saw the need because the passengers or the travelers or high-level executives would travel frequently, and we needed to we wanted to create the attire that would accommodate their lifestyle, so they would look sharp coming from the plane straight into the boardroom. So the transition from corporate background into actually a startup life, for me personally, was a challenge because before that I would work with the audiences, and you and I worked together in the past as well, where we would teach leadership, we would teach skills, we would share in the classroom with the audience about what leadership is all about. But then I noticed them lacking a certain experience in terms of actually taking a project from point A to point B, C, D, and further on. And that's what basically made me realize that I also need that experience because you cannot take audience somewhere where you've never been yourself before. So this transition really helped me to experience that entrepreneurship mindset in actually the environment, the full immersion from the real life experience, so to speak. So I hope that kind of answered the question.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely does. And I know you have extensive backgrounds in, in corporate world, and that was very interesting to hear how you applied all of that background and experience, and now actually, utilizing that in your day-to-day activities as now the owner of your own company. So that's
Yes, and
very interesting.
yes, and it helps because coming from the business background, you tend to structure your company under a little bit different angle, because most of the fashion startups that we see, they're established by creative individuals who are very, very talented, but in some cases they do lack that business perhaps experience where you need to streamline the processes, where you need to understand the meaning of lean operations. And we basically approach it from a different angle, so to speak. Though both my brother has an extensive experience in designing Formula One racetracks and building high-end resorts as a civil engineer. So he definitely has the passion for industrial design, and you can see how it transcends into the products that he designs together with our team with a great passion.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. So thank you for sharing that. So a little bit further, you started touching upon, you and your brother going into this business. So can you talk a little bit more about some of the advantages or disadvantages of going into business with your sibling?
Yes, it actually very frequently asked question, as a matter of fact. But let me highlight you like the positives. And there are many, many examples where siblings, even in the high fashion industry, started successful brands together and very successful run businesses as well. The essence of the success, I believe, is partnership. And that's what we have with my brother since the childhood. So we always were kind of inseparable. We went to school almost together. And then we kind of migrated around the world following one another. We've always remained very close. I mean, we're only 1.5 years apart, but we treat ourselves as the twins because we really, really support each other at and I think that partnership, that trust that we have established over the years have helped us to establish Soul of Nomad. Of course, I joined Soul of Nomad a little bit later, but when I first heard the ideas about Soul of Nomad from Nazym, he got my 100% support on the business initiative. And then I started supporting him with the execution, with the strategy, with the vision. And that's how I started getting more and more involved in the startup. Yes, of course, we have different personalities, and there are some maybe professional clashes. They do happen, but these are productive clashes that where we speak our opinion, and then we always come to a common denominator in terms of our decisions. But we treat each other with the great respect and utmost support because we're in this together. So we always have our backs and we support each other in that sense. We bring both, that's the element of any startup because each co-founder has to bring a unique set of skills to the table. So we are, at the same time, we have the same vision, we see the same strategy, but at the same time, our personalities are completely different, and we sometimes approach problems and find solutions in a different way. And when there is a gap, we compensate each other in that way. So in that sense, I think that's also a very key element to the success of the startup, where each co-founder brings something different to the table in terms of skill set and experience that, makes the puzzle complete in a sense.
Yeah, that's very interesting because, I've myself started multiple other companies and I had co-founders. I've never done any business with relatives or family or siblings or anything like this, but I can totally relate to you guys definitely having more advantages as far as being siblings and really understanding each other. How you operate and how you guys, capitalize on each other's strengths and weaknesses and turn that into, something productive for your company. I think you guys are, a step above everybody else.
Oh. No, thank you so much. No.
Yeah,
we do have our own challenges, of course. We all humans, and we by far, none of us are perfect. But any challenge or any problem that we have a rule. Talk it out. Don't keep it inside yourself. Don't, go and hide away, but, be transparent as much as possible. So, I think we know each other now inside out better than ourselves to the point sometimes.
Right. I can only imagine. That's very, very interesting. So I know firsthand, how hard it is to launch and grow a clothing company in particular. As you know, my wife, she was in the industry for a very long time. First as part of the very, big company, the Robert Graham dress shirts, and then later as a co-founder of the women's dress shirt company, Sana Moda. Aside from the standard kind of using the best materials and ingredients in your product or targeting a very unique niche customer, what is at the core of your company and how are you guys setting yourself apart from the rest?
The core of the company is basically, I think, the most fundamental challenge right now that the new generation has a challenge relating itself, their new identity, the new, let's say, and the new vision of how this world works with more household traditional luxury brands. So they need a luxury brand that is emerging, that is in line with their current philosophy and that relates to their inner emotions. So when I say that our philosophy is about the journey within themselves, is I think that's what's at the core of our brand, the essence. It's about overcoming challenges. It's about your own stamina, the strength that you find within yourself to overcome this. Perhaps to many it sounds a little bit more abstract, but when we were conducting focus groups, and when we were testing the perception and how the brand is actually being perceived by the outside world, we were surprised because at first we were targeting high-tech CEOs, COOs, co-founders, and executives. But then when we started testing our philosophy in other segments, we were surprised because our philosophy became so universal that it spoke to different segments of people. For example, it spoke to housewives. It's because those who actually want to be successful, not as maybe executives, but they want to be successful as mothers, as wives, to really create that home ideal environment. And they were completely in line with our philosophy. When we were doing focus group with gay and lesbian community, that was absolutely fascinating because it's the soul of Nomad and the journey with themselves was the story about coming out and actually accepting and going through that challenge that many people face today. So we were very surprised, and not only with tech founders the philosophy resonated, it also resonated with any entrepreneur or any person who actually sets a very demanding and ambitious goals for themselves. So we were very surprised by realizing how universal our philosophy is and how many groups in reality we are capturing with this message that we're sending outside to the world. And the first product we introduced to the market was actually a signature jeans as an iconic piece. And basically what we were doing is we were giving its tribute to the region of Northern California, where denim was originated during the gold rush period in the 1800s. And jeans was a great element to start the brand and put it out there because jeans has always been seen as a signature uniform trademark of Silicon Valley. And basically, Soul of Nomad collections tried to signify their part heritage by engineering this essential piece of global wardrobe. So, I mean, it's such a universal piece that everyone today owns at least 3 or 4 minimum pair of jeans. Later on, we expanded our luxury product line by introducing high-end travel leather luggage and other fashion accessories just to meet the demands of modern nomadic spirit and basically to support the philosophy of luxury, basically comfortable travel. So we are a luxury travel brand. So we wanted not to be only categorized as a denim brand. We wanted to really capture that whole lifestyle spirit of global travel. So I hope that kind of answered the question. Maybe I went a little bit off the tangent.
No, absolutely. You're right on point, and it's just very interesting to hear how you guys arrived at the whole decision-making process to go that route. Mainly because of the actual need that came out of while you guys were actually traveling, and you saw that need, you saw that opportunity, and that's that's very refreshing to hear that. With you guys kind of having a very global leadership team, sometimes I think you travel back and forth between California and Kazakhstan, and collaboration tools are great, but how do you separate the duties effectively that allow you to target and cater to your clients between you and your brother and whoever else is on your leadership team of the company?
Me as the COO, of course, I'm responsible for the operation and everything that has to do with the backbone operations of basically it's HR, legal, let's say supply chain, and then let's say customer service, customer experience, because luxury brands, it's all about the experience today, and we pay a great deal of attention that the experience from the moment they log in onto our site, and all the way through the receiving of the order, it's flawless and a pleasant experience of its own, because the customer retention is achieved through the experience. Customer comes back to you not only for the quality of the product, but also for the experience, to gain that repetitive experience over and over again. And we pay great attention to that as well. My brother, as a COO, he's more focused on strategy, product development, and long-term strategy and fundraising, because we're a startup. We're in a Series A at the present moment. So he is more managing strategic aspect of startup. I'm more managing the operational aspect of a startup. So that's where different skills, they come into place, and that's how we, in a sense, complete each other. Yes, we do have a team that is remote. We use many collaboration tools, which are at our disposal in the company. But also the element of strong leadership is very necessary to keep team motivated, and communication, I think, is of the essence as well in this aspect. We work around different time zones, so we often have conference calls in the middle of the night, early in the mornings. So the flexibility is also another key element to the success of the startup. So managing international team, of course, it's not an easy task, but if everyone is behind the idea and the right motivational tools are in place, you can make magic happen.
So something you've mentioned as part of your response in terms of the leadership style, I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about that. How would you define your leadership style? I'd love to hear some actual, if possible, practical examples of that, and who or what has helped you shape that leadership style most?
I think leadership, I don't think there is a clear definition up today in the world what leadership really is. I think it's a component of many different things that define your unique leadership style. And definitely me and my brother, we do have completely different leadership approaches and different approaches to management. My brother has that element more of like an inspirational leadership approach with the vision. He is the igniter behind the brand, and he motivates our team by setting for us audacious, ambitious goals, and with the great ability to support along the way, which I'm very, very grateful for him, because he also has significantly contributed to shaping my leadership abilities and capabilities, because in his past life he was managing and he was a CEO of big corporations with more than 3,000 or 5,000 people under his leadership. So yes, in many aspects I do look up to him as a leader as well. In terms of my own leadership style, I cannot categorize what kind of leader I am. All I know that there are three elements that are essential for me, which I use in my leadership approach. It's the direction, it's the alignment, and the commitment. I think these three elements are of great essence for any leader, is where you give your team a clear direction or where you must be or where you're headed, so everyone is on one page and they share a common vision. Alignment, that's where the challenge comes in, I think, in most of the companies, because it's basically calibrating the business processes. It's streamlining everything that you aligned and your company is operating on the clock without any hiccups. Of course, that's in the ideal world, but that's where you invest most of your time, energy, and resources at actually building that alignment between the teams. And when I mention alignment, it's not only business processes, but it's also different tools to motivate team to perform, to outperform, set the goals, set the KPIs, because you can't manage what you can't measure. And after that, of course, the commitment is the natural result of that. That they see the vision, they know what they need to do, and then there's, of course, the commitment to the company, to the leaders, and to themselves. So basically, that's how I would describe my own leadership style. Mm-hmm. And of course, the elements of emotional EQ are of essence. You cannot be just bottom line leader because, we're all humans and we all have different issues, and the team, it's every single person is its own separate universe, and you have to find a magic key to every single employee that you manage. So basically, that's the strategy. And the thing is, leadership for me is a constant learning process. I cannot say that, I'm an exemplary leader, but I try to be the best I can every day and the best than I was yesterday. So it's constant discipline, work on yourself as a leader. Well, and setting everything by the example, I think, is also of a great essence.
Yeah, in a nutshell, you eat your own dog food in first place, just so that you set that example. You walk the walk, and I like what you say in terms of constant improvement and really recognizing that you don't know everything and you're not perfect, and that the fact that you try to surround yourself with people better than you speaks volumes. So that's very, very refreshing to hear.
Yes, absolutely. And it's also the matter of understanding that, you exactly, to elaborate on that point, we don't know everything, but the people that we work with, they're such a great resource of information and knowledge sharing. So that element of knowledge sharing, I think, is so valuable in organizations. And that gives an opportunity for your team to understand that they're heard and, their opinion matters, and they can see it in action, in implementation. So you need to really capitalize on, the accumulation of the knowledge in the room. So because you don't hold all the answers to the questions. So it's really believing and trusting your team. I think element of trust is so critical, especially when you work with the remote teams. That element of trust is, I think, one of the key success factors.
Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So as part of being a leader, part of self-education, that improvement aspect, I'm assuming, you read a lot, you have a lot of reading material, you're constantly trying to get ahead. What are the top 2 books that you always recommend to others, and why is that?
Oh, well, with understanding the fact that there's 150 million startups exist today, and with 50 million startups launching on annual basis, and 137,000 startups launching on daily basis. I mean, this is just crazy numbers. So, the philosophy that I would apply is like survival of the fittest, or a smooth sea will never make a good sailor. So in that respect, there's so much pressure, there's so much demand on us, on as the founders, as the leaders, as the entrepreneurs, or, even, business owners, that we constantly need to learn something new, and we constantly need to improve ourselves. And the The three books that I would recommend, of course, the first one, I think that would apply very strongly to startups, because startup on its own in the essence demand great deal of discipline and commitment. And it requires you to almost rewire your brain into a different or the new set of habits versus than what you had when you were working in corporate world. So I would recommend The Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's basically outlines, how to adapt a good habits and how to get rid of the bad habits. And I think it applies not only to startup owners or co-founders or business people, it applies to everyone, if you're looking for really to discipline yourself or even looking for self-improvement. Also, the other book I think I would recommend is called The Lean Startup, but by Eric Rice. I mean, it really outlines, if you're in technological development, it's written by a software engineer. It's a good book, but, the bootstrapping is the way of life in startups. So at least for the first three years until, you lock a good series of funding, until you start scaling, you need to really, really implement those lean operational strategies. And I think as a woman, I would recommend a third book. I know you asked for two, but if you allow me to recommend a third book, that would be for women that work not only in startups, but also work in the corporate world. This book has become my Bible for the past 5 years, and it helped me to overcome my certain fears or even insecurities as an executive and even as a business owner. It's called Nice Girls Don't Get Corner Office. So I highly recommend, I forgot the name of the author, but I highly recommend that to read for our women audience who are listening to us right now. I think this book is very fascinating, and it really, really nails down to the issues that most of the high-level executives, especially females, are facing today and how to overcome those challenges. So I would recommend these three books, I think.
Okay, that's perfect. And don't worry about if you don't recall who the author is. We'll look them up and we'll make the links available for the listeners in the notes of the episodes. So that's great. I definitely look forward to checking those books out.
Yes.
In clothing industry or apparel, I understand that you have to be on top or ahead of the latest trends. How do you guys manage that process? Tell us more about what strategies do you have in place that really allows you to stay ahead.
Well, of course, we monitor our competitors. We monitor what is happening not only in the fashion world, but basically to create a demand, your product needs to resolve a specific problem for your target audience. So that's how the soul of Nomad actually started. We addressed a problem that existed amongst high frequently traveled executives or anybody who actually has a very active travel lifestyle. But the staying ahead of the trends, it depends how you approach this. Either you can be a trendsetter already and put the foot on the ground and, set the new fashion trends, or, you can observe what's happening not only in fashion, but in architecture, in art, in business, or in politics. So it's a really in-depth analytical work, and it's basically doing a lot of market predictions in terms of what product. But our product selection or the product line is being strategically selected because we do not want to overpopulate the market with our products, because luxury companies work on a very high demand algorithm. So that's why all our collections are very limited. They're timeless pieces. Their quality is superior to none. And that's how we win the customers. So let's say maybe Solo Nomad would not be considered as, you would say, the most trendiest. You know what I mean by trendiest is the funky streetwear design elements. But what we do is we cater to our audience with the timeless pieces that are going to be so universal, and they're going to be very wearable in the wardrobe of our client who travels frequently. I think in time we will be expanding and doing very interesting collaborations with celebrities, with very famous creative directors, and we're going to be launching those limited collections. And hopefully within our segment, we will become eventually a trendsetters in a way. So that's how we approach this. Sometimes we don't really stress too much about the trends.
No, I love that. I love hearing that, in the sense that you guys are creating your own trends, and rather you letting competition study you than the other way around, which I think I find very unique and almost, rare to find in a lot of startups who focus so much on competition rather than trying to figure out a way how to separate themselves from the pack. And it sounds
Yeah.
like you guys doing a lot of that, which is, definitely in my book, one of the main ingredients for success.
Thank you so much. Yeah, indeed. That's how we were noticed by Vogue, because for a luxury startup coming out of Silicon Valley, I mean, we were like white sheep in a herd or black sheep in a herd, let's say.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So in closing remarks, is there anything that you would like to share that we have not touched upon? Any advice perhaps, or words of wisdom, or a funny joke?
Funny joke. Oh my, maybe I'm not such a good joker, but basically what I want to share with people, always keep in mind what's on the other side of the fear. On the other side of the fear is, success, the overcoming of your internal challenges. And there's nothing wrong of being scared of starting something new, but don't let that fear stop you. It's a cultivated emotion in our brain. So we all make it up on our own. So follow your dreams, listen to your heart. I think that's one of my main things that I started doing recently. Yes, analytics and numbers, they're of utmost importance sometimes, but also follow your gut and your instincts, because they will never let you down. And I wish to many of your listeners, much success in their endeavors and achievement of their horizons. That's the motto that I would like to leave all of the people with at the end of this podcast. So
Great.
yeah, fear
That's
behind
amazing.
and move forward.
No, absolutely. It's definitely great advice, especially coming from you, and just in general. It's been a true pleasure, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be on this podcast. I know how busy you guys are with the startup, and it's trying to move at 1,000 miles an hour, and while trying to do a lot of things simultaneously. So I can definitely relate. I wish you best of luck with the Solo Nomad, and I would love to do a follow-up episode in a couple of years or maybe sooner
Absolutely.
when you guys are that global fashion powerhouse, and we all waiting in line to get that pair of jeans or the next carry-on luggage from you guys. So best of
Thank you
luck.
so
Thank you
much.
so much, Nargiza, and I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Ivy Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our RSS feed on ivypodcast.com and all major podcasting platforms like Spotify and iTunes. As always, if you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a rating on iTunes.